Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is November 24th, 2021, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, the South African rand continues to weaken versus the US dollar. But first, looking at the major economic events of the day, a bunch of events coming out, starting out at 3:30, all coming out of the United States. Preliminary quarterly GDP number coming out. That's not the most important one. The one at 5 p.m. monthly core price index number coming out. That is probably a very important number. And then we have FOMC meeting minutes at 9 p.m. out of the United States. So all important numbers, but mostly the monthly core price index and the FOMC. Now looking at the various markets, starting out with the Forex symbols, they're pretty much tapering off while the South African rand continues to weaken. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both bounce. Looking at commodities, gold trades lower and oil bounces. Looking at stocks, JP Morgan showing strength, but the tech stocks are weak. And lastly, cryptos, Bitcoin pretty much unchanged. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go, starting out with the Euro USD. You can see pretty much, this is tapering off. The moves are becoming less extreme and we're bouncing off, but not bouncing much. Okay, when I say bouncing, I mean like really not that much. Okay, we're on our lows here. GBP USD also traded lower, but looks like it's consolidating a little bit stronger than the Euro. And the Aussie as well, consolidating. Okay, which is beautiful about this is that it's all trading in tandem. That means it's bona fide that the dollar is getting weaker, which would imply that the markets are going to get softer in terms of the indices and the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ. Looking at the USD Rand, look at where we're trading at, 1580. Now this has been on a continued weakening versus the dollar, right? We went from 1480 to 1580 in a matter of just a few days, okay, 10 to 11 days. So not a big, change for the direction, but we are continuing to get weaker. The question is whether we're consolidating in this area, and for that we need a weekly chart. So there's no bona fide resistance here, but you do want to keep this in tab because we've had an extended 3 weeks where we've continued to weaken versus the dollar. Now jumping into commodities, gold pretty much unchanged, 1795. It did sell off just a little bit from yesterday, but again, it's trading within a range, so it's not out of sync or out of normal. Now looking at oil, we did get that bounce to 78.75 from 74-ish dollars, and that's a pretty decent bounce for oil. Okay, that's a really pretty decent rally. Now the question is whether or not we're going to sustain it or we're going to sell off, and it's more likely that we will sell off, just a matter of time. So just keep this in mind later today. Now jumping into the big board, the Dow Jones trading at, that's the NASDAQ. Let's look at the Dow Jones. There we are, 35,700. We gained back over 400 points from yesterday, which was a nice little rally. But we are at the top of the range, so just be aware of it. If it does break down here, keep it in mind. Now looking at the NASDAQ, okay, let's look at it daily. We're close to our all-time highs here. Okay, we're not on the all-time highs, but we're pretty close to it, and we'd like to see it sustain this growth. Now looking at the individual stocks, JP Morgan was the only one that was strong, gapped up and went. Look at that strength, and that's what brought up the Dow Jones yesterday. But looking at the high-tech stocks, really weak. Amazon, weak. Microsoft got a little bit of a lift, but way off of its highs of 348. If we look at Facebook, also very weak here at 335. So, and the Apple did bounce a little bit here at 160. So it's a mixed bag. And just remember, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. So that's a national holiday in the United States, and most of the markets are closed as a result of that. So I wouldn't imagine we'll get too far ahead in the next couple of days. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, we're trading at 56,400. Not much of a change either. Okay, it really just kind of like consolidating itself in this upper range, kind of finding some footing. So keep this in mind that tomorrow is a holiday, so we're going to go into the holiday, I think, a little bit lighter. So just keep that in mind and trade accordingly. This is Fred Razak, and I wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.